Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Codedsteele, and this is my second attempt at recording this video since my Autodesk design crashed in the middle of the last video. So, yeah, that's nice that Autodesk will do that stuff to you sometimes, especially if your graphics processor is not running fast enough, or you don't have enough RAM to render the images or whatever on the screen. Sometimes it'll just crash, but that's okay. Anyways, as promised, I was going to show you guys how to create a generic project box. So without further ado, let's get started on that. So the first thing we're going to do up here is we're going to come to the Sketch tab. We're going to click on the rectangle, and we are going to turn around and type in 3 inches and 2 inches here to create a 3-2 rectangle. So you can kind of click on the edges and see that. And I'm going to do something as I'm going along. I'm going to save this thing each time because of last time's crash. I am not very interested in having to deal with this crashing again. So at least if it crashes, I can just bring it back up right where it's at. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to add some fillets. And so you guys kind of saw what I did there. I went back up to the Sketch tab and went over to Sketch Fillet, and then I click on my rectangle and click on my corner. If I can click on the actual freaking corner. Sometimes it's better just to click on the 2 lines on the outside of the corner and just do it that way. But let's see here. I think I can, let me see if I can kind of do a chain clicking here. No, they don't want to cooperate. So unfortunately, you got to go through to Sketch Fillet, and each time turn around, click, come over here, 0.25, enter, and then come back up and do it again. But that's not that big of a deal. So I'll do this. We'll do this 2 more times here. Sorry, it's hard to talk and concentrate on what I'm doing at the exact same time. Let's see, 0.25. So there we go. Nice 1/4 inch fillet on each side of our case. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to create the walls for the box. So right now the way it is, it's just a nice rounded rectangle that we took and rounded the corners of it. So we're going to turn around and we're going to create a walls. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to go to Sketch, we're going to come up and we're going to go to Offset. Now this is something you just kind of learn from experience, but I'm going to make my offset here 0.125 inches. And this is the outer wall dimension. And that is just seemed for me to be a nice number for thickness of the walls. If you do it much thinner than this, the walls of your box are really easy to break, is what I've found. And there are techniques you can use for strengthening your print when it comes off the bed. But we'll get into that stuff later on in the series. But for now, just kind of keep in mind that 1/8 inch, not too bad for a wall dimension here. So we're going to come back up. We're going to save this again, since I had the little spinning wheel of death on the screen. The next thing we need to do is we need to add our standoffs so we have a place for our screws to kind of screw into. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to click on these little the circle under the Sketch tab, and we're going to click on this point that the fillet nicely created for us. And we're going to kind of turn around and we're going to use 0.13 as our dimension. And the way I came up with that number was I have this table here for M4 screws, and that's the screw that I use. Is pretty standard. I have those ones on hand. So it's a pretty standard screw, and that's what I like to use. And I said I wanted to use coarse threads, and I want the thread size to be 0.7, so they're nice and thick threads. And it told me to use a tap drill of 3.3 millimeters. So I'm going to make this hole 3.3 millimeters big, but since I'm using inches, I need 0.13. So the way I found that was by taking 3.3, dividing it by 25.4, because that's how many millimeters are in an inch, And then that gave me the size of the hole that I need, 0.13 inches. So there's our first hole. Now we're going to repeat the process with all three of the remaining holes. So unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a quicker way to do this. So I'm going to have to turn around, go to each part of the box and do this a couple times. But good thing is it doesn't take that long. So there we have it. We have our holes for our case. The next thing we need to do is create the walls for our standoffs. So another simple thing to do, easily accomplished with the offset command. So this we kind of have to gauge and find out what we want our thickness to be. I think that I'm going to go with 0.06. That seems to be a nice number to offset by. Remember, that's how thick, these are how thick our walls are going to be. Too much thinner and those things might bust right off. Remember, we're going to be tapping these holes. So when we go through and we tap them, we need to have a nice bond between the surfaces. For those of you who know a lot about 3D printing, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about bonding. For those of you who don't, layers, 3D printing is basically consumer grade 3D printing, I should say. And there are some that are actually getting, there's a couple different types of printing methods, but the most common one is fused deposition printing. And that is basically means, so you have some filament that goes into a tube or into a heating chamber, it heats it up, and then there's an extruder at the bottom that just extrudes the plastic, and then there's a motherboard or some kind of a controller that turns around and tells the head where to go on the board, and it just continuously additive. It uses an additive processing, additive manufacturing process, and it basically just goes over the top of the same spot, 200 times depending on how big your object is, and lays down a layer each time it goes by. And depending on the resolution you have, most of them are probably about 200 microns. Most consumer grade printers can achieve 200 microns pretty easily nowadays. So it basically, we want to achieve a good adherence to each layer, and in order to make sure that we have good strength, it is good to have more surface area for our part. So if we went with thinner walls, they probably break apart really easily because although 3D printing, the bonds the layers pretty well, it's still not really good. So it's just a good idea to, if you want to make these walls maybe even a little bit thicker, go right on ahead. Not a bad idea at all. So enough babbling. We'll continue on with what we were doing here, 0.06. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to offset each one of these standoffs here. Nice, easy thing to, oh, nope, wrong, not project. That's another video. 0.06, all right. Nice, so we have got pretty much everything we need to make this work. Nice. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start adding height, or the third dimension to this. So we got our length, we got our width, now we need our height. The way we will accomplish that is we will come in and we will click on, actually first thing we're going to do is come up here and we're going to click under the construct tab, we're going to click on extrude. And in extrude, all we need to do is just click on everything we want to add the third dimension to here, or anything we want to give height, so to speak, or Z, however you want to call it. So I clicked on everything, which the inner circles and the inner shape here. And I'm going to add a Z height of an 1/8 inch. No surprise there, I don't think, right? All I'm doing is basically making everything 1/8 of an inch thick, make it nice and strong, so there's a good bond. I go thinner than that, and I can pretty much break it with my hand. I go this much, and it's really hard to break it with your hand. So nice round number, 1/8 inch thick, pretty good. So that's why I always choose that number. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to click on this outer shape, and you guessed it, it's a 3x2x1 box, right? So I'm going to add 1 to that and make that 1 inch. So I'm going to hide the sketches now so we can kind of take a look at what it is we've done so far. So you guys can kind of see that we have actually got a nice little box here. So nice, you know, we're getting moving right along. There's only a couple things left to do with this, and we are on our way to being done and having a nice little handy box that we can use. So let's bring those sketches back here, and we will turn around, click on the extrude button again, and click all of these inner circles. So if we click all of those inner circles and say that we want to make everything about, we're going to go with 0.85 inches tall. And that's another number that I chose for a good reason, and I will explain. The reason I chose that number is the type of lid that we are going to make is going to have a recess in the center of it. And basically what I mean by that is it's going to be, the lid is actually going to go a little bit inside of the case. And that is for a good reason, because how many times have you had that to where you turn around, you got a lid, and you're trying to put it on something, and there's nothing to catch the edges, so it can kind of just move around freely, and you know, it's kind of sloppy. So we actually want our edge of our case to turn around, grab nice and tight the edges of the box, and have a nice grip. So the lid actually won't flop around, and it makes it really easy to get our screws in. So that is why I chose that. And that is essentially our box. There is one more thing we're going to do to our box right now, and this is absolutely no real bearing on the design. The design is pretty strong right now the way it is, or it works really well the way it is. This is just if you want to get a little bit more fancy with your design. And what we're going to do is there is a command under here that is called chamfering. So chamfering is one of those things that you use to give your design a little bit more of a, it's one of those aesthetic feel things. You know, you're trying to turn around and actually make your case look a lot more, well, you guys can kind of see what it does there. If I type in 0.25, it kind of rounds the bottom of the case, gives it a little bit of lift, I suppose is what you'd say. So there's a little bit of lift to my case. It doesn't affect the inner dimensions. It just makes it to where the walls of the case actually are a little bit more curvy looking and maybe a little bit more interesting. Gives it a little bit of flavor to the design. And it also serves another purpose. When you guys are printing, if you chamfer your edges like this, most of the time you get a better adherence. If you're using a heated bed and your bed is made out of that borosilicate glass, and then it has the heated element underneath it, or however you do it, if it's with a heated circuit board or whatever, the chamfered edges like this actually prevent the 3D print from lifting up off the bed very easily. Not exactly sure why that is, but it usually does help, and that's something I just kind of learned and heard and tried it, and yes, it works. So just gonna have to trust me on that one, that it serves two purposes: makes it look good, and it helps with adherence to the bed. So we are done with our box here. So I'm going to turn around and I am going to make that disappear for now, and we're going to save our progress so we don't lose it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our sketches back on, and we've got to work on our lid. Now our lid is extremely simple, and I'm talking extremely simple. All we've got to do is click in here, click the gear, click the extrude button, and say 0.125, 1/8 inch. No surprises there. I feel like we all kind of got the picture at this point. And we will extrude again 0.25 inches, the inner part. So with just like that, we have a nice little lid here. We could do the same thing to the top, kind of chamfer it around it or do stuff like that, but I don't know. For me, I feel like I kind of want it flush, so I don't usually do anything with the lids. I just kind of leave it the way it is, And then you have got a nice functional lid for your box. So if I turn on the solids and meshes again, we can kind of see our stuff here. I'm going to save everything where it's at, and then we're going to use the snap button, which you learned about in our first video, to kind of snap this on top of the box. And there you have it, folks. We have a completed box where the edges of the box should fit in there rather well. It should go right in pretty snugly. Now, because of how the plastic behaves, it obviously, you guys should know it heats up, it expands. As soon as it cools, it'll contract. We should be able to get this part. I've printed it with this exact dimension without scaling it down before, and I found the lid actually did fit inside of the box, and it fit rather well, and it was real snug. If you wanted to, you could turn around with your lid. You could come back over here. So if I hid this again, oh, not hide sketches. That's not what I want to do. I want to hide just this box. So the way you can hide objects, I should mention this, is I can turn around, I can show everything. If I want to hide a specific object, I can't just turn around, come over here and say hide solids, because that's going to hide everything. So what I need to do is click on the object specifically and then click this little eye, and that will hide just the object I do not want to focus on right now. If I come back over here to the lid, what I can do is I can shift the lid cover in a little bit if I really wanted to. And the way you can do that is if I turn around, I undo everything here as far as, okay, the lid cover is gone. What I can kind of do here is I can do this. Let's say we remove all the dimensions from the lid and everything. I can bring this spot, offset it, just to give you guys kind of an idea. I can offset this part and bring it in a little bit more. And that, you know, you can and you can't, or whatever you feel like doing. If you wanted to bring it in, you don't have to bring it in that much. I could probably bring it in like 0.01 or maybe even 0.02, and that would be enough. And then re-extrude everything. So delete this outer line here with the trim command. You can just come up here, say trim, you know, and then click on the shape and then just trim everything away, blah, 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 blah. You guys kind of get the point. And then re-extrude everything back up if you really wanted to go that far. But like I said, I'm not sure that that is actually necessary. I have been able to get the lid to fit before in the past without going that far. So you can take that or leave it or whatever. But I'm just kind of telling you guys my personal experience with the 3D printing process. So I think that is everything. If you follow this exact series of steps, you could create any box like this of any size. You could create a 6x5x1. You could create a 6x4x1, so you could double the size of the case. You could do just about anything you can imagine in the light of however you want to do this. But yeah, use this design or use the same type of thing to your heart's content. This is a nice solid box. I've actually 3D printed this before and used it. It works rather well. If you guys want to create any modifications to this design, or you want this design printed, I am starting a 3D printing page here where you actually have the ability to come and upload your print options. I'm going to start a store. I will probably upload this box onto my store so you could print it, and I probably will upload various different versions of this box of different sizes onto the store into the store as well. So do what you want to do with that. If you have designs that you want to make, you can always send me an email and let me know, or you can turn around and buy them through this store. You can upload it. This does have a 3D printing service. Once I get it fully set up, which will probably be by the time I put up next video, I will show you guys how to do that. So you can create designs. If you don't have access to a 3D printer, you can buy stuff from me real cheap. I can send it to you, and then everything will be grand and great, I guess. So anyways, that's all I have for you guys for this tutorial. Please like, comment, subscribe, add any suggestions, or make any suggestions, or send me files of stuff you want drawn, make suggestions for future tutorials, whatever you guys want to do. Anyways, that's all I got for you. See you next time.